The heat shimmered off the pavement outside the sprawling tech manufacturing facility, nestled at the edge of a quiet industrial park. It was early afternoon, but inside the building the atmosphere was far from calm. Panic gripped the heart of the operations floor, a $40 million prototype Line 1 designed to revolutionize compact battery production had abruptly shut down for the third time in less than a week. The blinking red lights, the buzzing alarms, and the flashing status panels painted a grim picture. It wasn't just a technical glitch. It was a financial disaster in the making. Inside the main operations bay, 24 engineers in white coats huddled around the towering serpentine machinery. Each of them was a specialist, handpicked for this project, MIT grads, German precision minds, veterans from Tesla, Boeing, and Intel, yet all stood helpless in the face of a problem they couldn't seem to diagnose, let alone solve. Diagnostics still won't go past stage 3, shouted one of them, sweat beading on his forehead. Software rollback didn't work either, snapped another. We're bleeding time and money every minute this machine is down, growled the production manager, pacing furiously behind them. We have investors expecting a live demo in less than 72 hours. If this isn't fixed today, it's over. Tools clanged to the ground, tempers flared. Someone threw a wrench. No one spoke up to calm things down anymore. They were all exhausted, drained by sleepless nights and the mounting pressure to save a project that seemed cursed from the start. Just outside, a plain white delivery van rolled to a stop at the loading dock. The driver's door opened, and out stepped Marcus James, wearing navy blue overalls with a stitched patch on his chest that read Speedix Logistics. His face was calm, unreadable. He walked around to the back, opened the rear doors, and pulled out a dolly loaded with 3 sealed crates, each marked with high voltage components fragile. Marcus had done hundreds of these deliveries before. In and out, drop, sign, go. But today, something was different. As he rolled the crates toward the entrance, he heard it yelling. Not the usual warehouse banter or workplace stress. This was sharp, desperate, angry. 20 of you, and not one of you can fix this. You call yourselves engineers? A woman's voice shouted, almost trembling with frustration. Marcus paused mid-step. A moment later, a woman in a heart clearly. Someone in charge stormed out of the corridor, muttering curses under her breath. She rubbed her forehead, glanced at her tablet, then sighed like the world was collapsing on her shoulders. Unbelievable, she mumbled, just loud enough for Marcus to hear as she passed by. He hesitated. He had a schedule to stick to. Clock to punch, but something made him walk a little closer, not to interfere, just to observe. As he stepped into the corridor, the sight hit him like a brick wall. The assembly floor was a jungle of wires, cables, and blinking terminals. Engineers clustered around a massive control panel mounted to the wall. On a large monitor was a schematic of the prototype system, a complicated fusion of mechanical parts and intricate electrical routing. Marcus narrowed his eyes. That layout, the circuit pathways, the wiring logic. It was oddly familiar. Years ago, before life pushed him off course, Marcus had worked on drone stabilization units, small, compact systems with similar circuit logic. He remembered the patterns, the load balancing, the common failures. It was like seeing a ghost from the past, only this one was very real and apparently breaking millions of dollars. Every minute it wasn't running. He shouldn't say anything. That's what his instinct screamed. He was just the delivery guy. But his mind wouldn't let it go. He stood there, quietly studying the monitor, piecing together the logic. His eyes moved rapidly from one component to another, mentally tracing the fault pathways like someone solving a Rubik's Cube they hadn't touched in years but somehow never forgot. Back inside the bay, one engineer raised his hands in frustration. This makes no sense. The diagnostics report says Phase C is online, but the firmware keeps reporting 0 current return. Another spat back. We rewired Phase C 3 times. We replaced the board. If it's not software and not hardware, then what is it? Asterisk, that was it. The clue, asterisk. Marcus took a breath. Then, calmly, he stepped forward through the open doorway. Asterisk, excuse me, he said, voice steady but quiet. Asterisk, heads turned. Some frowned, others looked annoyed. One rolled his eyes. Asterisk, who are you? Balked the production manager. Asterisk. Marcus pointed. To the crates, delivery, electrical components. Asterisk, then leave them at the dock. This area's off limits. Asterisk, I understand. Marcus glanced at the monitor again. I think I might know what's wrong with your machine. Silence. One of the engineers let out a short, sarcastic laugh. Asterisk, you think you know? More than us? You deliver boxes, bro? Asterisk. Marcus didn't flinch. I used to work on compact stabilization boards for autonomous drones. The fault you're seeing phase C with no return current, it usually isn't software or major hardware. It's often a misaligned insulation strip. Looks fine on diagnostics, but shuts everything down when the heat load changes. No one said anything. Then, slowly, one of the senior engineers stepped forward and stared at Marcus. Asterisk. What did? You say? Asterisk. Marcus pointed at the lower half of the schematic. If I'm not wrong, your heat sensor is giving a false safe because one of the wires is grounding out under thermal load. That loop back in your schematic, it's too tight. Once it heats up, it touches the housing and kills the return path. Asterisk. More silence. The engineers exchanged glances. Asterisk. Then the oldest one among them whispered, that actually makes sense. Asterisk. The operations manager blinked. What the hell is going on? Asterisk. And just like that, the room began to shift. Something was changing. A ripple had been created in the hierarchy, and it was only the beginning. The temperature in the room had changed, though no thermostat had moved. For a moment, everyone just stared at Marcus as if they were looking at a glitch in the matrix. A delivery driver speaking in engineering code? Talking about fault loops. And grounding errors? Some looked skeptical, others curious. One or two visibly threatened. Asterisk. The senior engineer who had whispered moments earlier now stepped forward with cautious interest. He adjusted his glasses and walked over to the section of the schematic Marcus had pointed at. Asterisk. You said the loopback is grounding out under thermal load? The man asked. Asterisk. Marcus nodded slowly. It's a pretty common failure in compact circuitry when the wire tension is too tight and insulation degrades due to friction and heat. Diagnostics won't catch it until the heat triggers the misfire. Asterisk. The other engineers began murmuring, now genuinely interested. One pulled out a tablet and started comparing Marcus's theory against previous fault logs. Another popped open the side panel to inspect the cabling Marcus had referenced, but not everyone was impressed. From the back, a man with a shaved head and a deep scowl spoke up sharply. This is ridiculous. We're professionals. You're going to let a guy with a dolly tell you how to fix a multi-million-dollar system? Asterisk. Marcus didn't flinch. I'm not here to tell anyone anything. Just offering a possible answer, that's all. Asterisk. The production manager, visibly stressed and now out of options, glared at the outspoken engineer. And yet, after 20 of you worked 3 days, it still doesn't run. So maybe the guy with the dolly gets 5 minutes. The room went silent again. Fine. The engineer growled and folded his arms. Asterisk. The lead technician hesitated, then gestured toward the terminal. All right, let's hear him out. Asterisk. Marcus stepped forward, moving with careful confidence. He wasn't trying to dominate the space, just help. He leaned over the machine's access panel and studied it for a moment. Then, pointing to a small section of bundled wires at the base of the unit, he said, May I? Asterisk. Go ahead, said the operations manager. Asterisk. Using a pair of gloves from a nearby bench, Marcus gently separated the wire bundle. He spotted it almost instantly, a faint blackened streak on the insulation of a loopback wire, nearly invisible. A single line of degradation. No thicker than a pencil mark. Asterisk. This, he said. This is the arc point. Every time the current surges and heat increases, this wire flexes just enough to kiss the inner chassis. It triggers a fail-safe cascade and makes the system think there's a power loss. Asterisk, he reached for a multimeter nearby, flicked it on, and tested continuity along the line. The numbers confirmed it. His suspicion was correct. Asterisk, one of the younger engineers leaned over his shoulder. Holy crap, he's right. Asterisk, another muttered. How did we miss that? Asterisk Marcus carefully replaced the damaged segment with a spare wire from the tool tray, securing it with a proper insulation strip and heat shield. Then he looked at the terminal. Asterisk, you should reboot the system now. Don't load full capacity yet. Let the baseline current stabilize for 2 minutes before engaging phase B and C. Asterisk, you heard the man, the production manager said firmly, turning to his staff. Do it, asterisk, someone initiated the reboot. The hum of the machine returned soft at first, then steady. Lights on the console shifted from red to amber, then finally to green. No error codes, no shutdown, no alarms. Silence filled the room, but this time it was the kind that buzzed with stunned awe. Asterisk, the screen displayed, system operational, all phases nominal. Asterisk, the same engineer who had ridiculed Marcus earlier, now stood completely still, watching the green bar complete a full cycle. Asterisk. Impossible, he whispered. A second passed, then a third. Asterisk, and suddenly a slow, scattered applause began. First, one person, then two. Then it became a ripple of claps and even a few cheers. Engineers laughed in disbelief. A few shook their heads. One just stared at Marcus like he'd just witnessed a magician. Asterisk, the senior engineer turned to the operations manager. We've been tearing this machine apart for days, and this guy solved it in 5 minutes. Asterisk, the manager raised his eyebrows and smiled. I'm not even mad, I'm impressed. Asterisk, Marcus stepped back, modest as ever. Just glad I could help. Asterisk, help? Someone said from the side. Man, you saved the whole project. Asterisk, the woman in the hearted, the same one who had stormed out earlier, reappeared, blinking in surprise as she saw the team celebrating. Asterisk, what happened? She asked. Asterisk, the manager pointed at Marcus. He happened. Asterisk, she looked at him, confused. Who is he? Asterisk, Marcus offered a small wave. Delivery. Speedix Logistics. Asterisk, she blinked, stunned. You're kidding. Asterisk, not even a little, someone replied. He found a grounding fault none of us could see. Fixed it. Machine's running. Asterisk, she stepped closer to Marcus and extended her hand. Well, I don't know your full story, but you just saved us a disaster. Thank you. Asterisk, Marcus shook. Her hand nodded politely and added, sometimes it just takes a fresh pair of eyes. The machine was running. The impossible had become undeniable. Asterisk, a quiet awe settled over the team like fog lifting after a storm. No one moved at first. Even the buzzing of the machines now felt different, like the sound of victory. The whir of fans, the faint clicking of relays, the quiet hum of a perfectly synchronized system. It was music to their ears. Asterisk, the lead technician wiped sweat from his forehead with the sleeve of his lab coat and turned slowly toward Marcus. Asterisk, you ever consider coming back to engineering? He asked with a crooked smile. Asterisk, Marcus gave a quiet chuckle and shrugged. Life had other plans. Asterisk, before anyone could say more, the massive steel doors to the operations floor swung open with a loud clang, and a team of executives entered. Suits, tablets, badges, stress written across their faces. They had clearly been summoned when someone reported the crisis earlier. Asterisk, the moment they stepped in, they froze, seeing the machine glowing green with full status indicators. Asterisk, wait, it's running? The VP of Operations STMMERED. Asterisk, the production manager nodded. Yes, sir, fully operational. All diagnostics cleared. Asterisk, how, who? Asterisk, the manager grinned and motioned to Marcus, still standing off to the side near his dolly cart. Asterisk, one of the executives narrowed his eyes, confused. Who's that? Asterisk, that, the manager said with some pride, is the delivery driver who just saved this company's flagship project. Asterisk, the silence that followed was thick. No one quite knew what to say. The executive stared, then glanced back at the engineering team, who all gave small nods of confirmation. Even the most skeptical among them had no room left to argue. The VP stepped forward slowly, eyeing Marcus with interest. "You fixed the Phase C fault?" Marcus shrugged again. "Just pointed out something that wasn't showing up in diagnostics." The VP frowned, then suddenly chuckled under his breath. "Unbelievable, *" he turned to the others. 20 engineers, 6 consultants, and a non-engineer walks in and solves it on a lunch break. Someone in the back muttered, "He's not just a delivery guy, clearly." The woman in the Hardit, now standing beside Marcus, smiled with admiration. "His name is Marcus. He's the reason we still have a shot at launching this line on schedule." The executives looked at each other, then at Marcus again. What they saw now wasn't just a blue-collar worker in a jumpsuit, it was talent, natural, rare, unpolished, but undeniably brilliant. "Tell me something," one of them said. "Why aren't you doing this kind of work full-time?" Marcus paused. The room quieted again, as if sensing a deeper story beneath the surface. "I used to," he said. "Worked R&D for a drone startup 5 years ago. Then my mom got sick, bills piled up, had to leave to take care of her. Company folded a year later, took what work I could find after that. Logistics gave me steady hours and time." The words hung in the air, raw, real, no bitterness. "Just facts, *. Is she okay now?" Someone asked quietly. "She passed last year," Marcus said gently. "I kept the job, needed to stay grounded." The room was still again. Even the execs, usually stone-faced and focused on numbers, looked momentarily shaken. Here stood a man who had sacrificed a promising future without complaint, who had quietly shown up to deliver parts and ended up saving their entire operation. The VP of Operations finally spoke. "Marcus, I'm not going to pretend today didn't just change a lot of things, for us and possibly for you. If you're open to it, I'd like to talk about something beyond deliveries." Marcus looked up, raising an eyebrow. "We've got a spot open on our emergency diagnostics team," the VP continued. "Comes with a proper title, full benefits, and more importantly, respect." A few engineers clapped lightly. One gave a whistle. Another nodded in firm agreement. But Marcus didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked back at the humming machine. The green lights. The repaired wire still gleaming with fresh shielding, *. Then he turned to the engineers who had initially scoffed at him, who now watched him with new eyes, *. And finally, he glanced down at the sleeves of his uniform. Worn, simple, the patch on his chest, no longer just a job, it was a journey. A reflection of everything he'd endured to get here. "I'll think about it," he said simply. The VP smiled. "Fair enough. But just know what you did today wasn't just impressive. It was transformative." Someone called from the console. "Full test cycle, completed, no faults, line is stable." A wave of cheers erupted again. People clapped. Some engineers high-fived. One even tossed his tablet in the air and caught it like he'd just won the Super Bowl. Marcus smiled quietly. He didn't need the cheers. He didn't crave validation. He just liked fixing things, and today he had done more than fix a machine. He had fixed a company's failure. He had fixed the way they viewed people like him. He had earned something they couldn't teach in school. The celebration carried through the rest of the afternoon like an unexpected holiday. Engineers who had barely made eye contact earlier were now cracking smiles, bumping fists, and replaying the moment Marcus found the fault like it was a championship-winning shot. Word spread quickly throughout the entire facility. The delivery guy fixed the $40 million system. By 3 p.m., even the administrative staff and interns had heard about it. Phones buzzed. People whispered in the hallways. A few had even peeked into the operations bay just to catch a glimpse of the man whose sharp eye had outclassed a room full of degrees and titles, but Marcus wasn't basking in the attention, he had returned to the dock, quietly completing his Paperwork like any other day? Clipboard in hand, he double-checked the delivery list, verified the serials, and prepared to log out of the building like he always did anonymous. Unnoticed. Asterisk until the woman in the heart it returned, holding 2 cups of coffee. Asterisk, still trying to sneak out? She asked with a half-dash smile. Asterisk Marcus looked up, a little surprised, then smirked. Just doing my job. Asterisk, she handed him one of the cups. Then take a break, just for 5 minutes. That machine's not going anywhere. He hesitated, then accepted the coffee with a nod of thanks. They stood quietly near the loading dock, the metal bay doors casting long shadows as the sun dipped lower in the sky. Forklifts hummed in the distance. The hum of the repaired machine was a quiet soundtrack in the background, steady, strong. Asterisk, you really meant what you said back there? She asked. Asterisk, about what? Asterisk, that you used to be in R&D and gave it all up to take care of your mom? Asterisk Marcus nodded. Yeah, she was all I had left. Dad wasn't around. And she gave everything for me. So when she got sick, I didn't even think twice. Sold my car, left my job, moved back in. Asterisk, that's heavy, she said softly. Asterisk, he took a sip of the coffee. It was what needed to be done. Asterisk, there was a long pause. She leaned against a railing, watching the horizon. Most people would have stayed bitter. You don't seem like the type. Asterisk, I had my moments, Marcus admitted. But I learned something. Life will humble you, whether you're ready or not. Doesn't mean you stop showing up. Asterisk, she turned to him. Well, today you didn't just show up, you showed out. I don't think anyone here will forget it. Asterisk, just then the heavy footfalls of the VP echoed behind them. He was holding a folder in one hand and a company badge in the other. Asterisk, I figured I'd find you here, he said. Marcus straightened slightly. The VP walked up and handed him the badge. Temporary clearance. We'd like you to consult with the diagnostics team over the next week. No pressure. No contracts, just offer your insight. You'll be paid for your time. Asterisk Marcus stared at the badge for a moment. It wasn't fancy. Just his name, printed cleanly beneath the company logo. But to him, it felt like a Kia door cracking open that had been bolted shut for years. Asterisk, why me? Marcus asked. Asterisk, the VP tilted his head. Because you saw what 20 trained people missed. Because you didn't panic under pressure. Because you think different? Asterisk Marcus glanced at the badge again, then nodded once. All right, I'll help, but just this week. After that, we'll see. Asterisk, fair enough, the VP said with a handshake. And by the way, HR's asking if you have a resume. Asterisk Marcus chuckled. Somewhere in my email. Haven't touched it in 5 years? Asterisk, no rush, the VP said with a grin. We'll wait. Asterisk, as the executive walked off, the woman in the heart it leaned in. Looks like you just got upgraded. Asterisk. Maybe, Marcus replied. But I'm still clocked in for SpeedX for another hour. They both laughed. Just then, another engineer ran out to the loading dock holding up a tablet. Marcus, the software team needs your opinion on the voltage tuning protocol. Can you come take a look? Asterisk Marcus blinked. They need my opinion? Asterisk, the woman laughed again. Told you, you're part of the family now. Asterisk, he glanced at his dolly, then at the building behind him, then followed the engineer back inside. Carrying nothing but his calm confidence. Asterisk inside. The team greeted him like a returning hero. No mockery, no suspicion. Just mutual respect. Asterisk, he leaned over the tablet, scanning the code, then nodded. You're running 2 voltage regulators in parallel. Try offsetting the frequency by 2 microseconds. That should stabilize the waveform. Asterisk, the engineer looked stunned. That's genius. Asterisk Marcus shrugged. It's just math. Asterisk, but everyone knew better. This wasn't just math. This was instinct, insight, lived experience wrapped in brilliance. Asterisk, and the line between delivery guy and engineer had officially blurred forever. Asterisk. By the end of the week, Marcus James had become more than a name. He was a legend inside those walls. Asterisk every hallway conversation started with his story. Engineers referenced the Marcus method while troubleshooting other systems. HR quietly sent his name to internal recruitment. One of the junior coders even created a meme of Marcus photoshopped onto Iron Man with the caption, asterisk, when the delivery guy saves your company before your coffee break. Asterisk, but Marcus wasn't chasing fame. He hadn't asked for anything. Number. Spotlight. No speeches. Each morning he showed up in his same Speedix uniform, clean clipboard in hand, and quietly walked the floor. He reviewed diagnostics, gave his honest input, and occasionally sipped coffee while the others around him scrambled to jot down notes from his casual observations, but something was changing inside him, too, the years of playing small. The invisible weight of sacrifice. The voice inside that used to whisper, "You're not supposed to be here," had gone quiet in its place. Stillness, confidence, a feeling he hadn't tasted in years, belonging. Friday afternoon arrived faster than expected. The prototype had not only stabilized, it was outperforming initial expectations. Fault rates dropped 70%. Power consumption improved. One of the investors who had threatened to pull funding earlier in the week now requested a personal walkthrough of the facility, specifically asking to meet the guy who turned it all around. Asterisk Marcus was sitting in the break room, sipping from a paper cup, when the VP of Operations entered again. This time, not with a badge, but with a printed offer letter. Asterisk he sat across from Marcus, set the folder on the table, and slid it forward. Asterisk we'd like you to stay, the VP said, simply. Marcus looked down, expression unreadable. You're offering me a full position? Asterisk, not just a position, the VP clarified. We're creating a new role, hybrid field intelligence technician. It's yours if you want it. Salary, benefits, flexible hours. And you'll be leading the post-launch diagnostic team. Asterisk Marcus leaned back, staring at the folder like it was both a gift and a ghost. Asterisk, I'm flattered, he said. Truly, but I need to ask. Asterisk, why now? Asterisk, the VP leaned forward, folding his hands. Because we didn't see you before. You were always capable, we just didn't know it. And when you spoke, you didn't demand respect. You earned it, that's rare. Asterisk Marcus thought for a long moment. Then he smiled. Asterisk, I'll need to give notice to Speedix. Asterisk, we'll call them for you? The VP grinned. Pretty sure they've heard by now. Asterisk Marcus laughed softly. Then he extended his hand and shook on it. Asterisk, just like that. A new chapter began. 3 weeks later, Asterisk Marcus walked through the same facility. But everything had changed. Asterisk, he no longer wore his delivery uniform. Instead, a custom-fitted gray jacket with the company logo stitched on the sleeve. Employees nodded as he passed. Interns followed him during systems checks. He was even invited to sit in on engineering meetings, not as a guest but as a decision-maker. Asterisk, but one moment stood out above all. Asterisk that afternoon, the company held a small appreciation ceremony in the main atrium. It wasn't flashy. Just staff, cake, coffee, and a few heartfelt speeches. Then the head of operations stepped up with a mic in hand. Asterisk, I want to tell you all a quick story, she began. About the time our line broke down and no one knew what to do. Investors were ready to walk. The project was on the verge of collapse. But then a man showed up, not with a briefcase, not with a title, but with clarity. She looked directly at Marcus. He didn't ask for permission to be brilliant. He didn't wait to be noticed. He saw a problem and he solved it. That's the kind of person we want to be. That's the kind of person we need. Everyone applauded. Marcus stood in the back, hands in his pockets, head slightly bowed, humbled, not spotlight-seeking. But in that moment, he knew he wasn't just fixing machines anymore. He was changing minds. Asterisk, and for every overlooked genius, every blue-collar brain hiding in plain sight, every soul who had ever been underestimated simply because of where they stood or what they wore, Marcus James had just opened a door they never knew existed. Asterisk, he wasn't just the guy who solved the fault. Asterisk, He was the reason they'd never ignore potential again.